जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. Hare Krishna, welcome back. So we are continuing our discussion on how to study Bhagavad Gita, and this is part 2 of that discussion. And since Bhagavad Gita is a spiritual book which was directly spoken by the Lord himself to Arjuna, we must study this book with utmost sincerity, and the goal should be to change our life and live a life which is driven by those principles actually given by Lord Krishna to Arjuna, and those principles which were applicable to Arjuna is also applicable to us. So therefore, in the very beginning we must understand the purpose of studying this book, and it should be very very clear. And we established that purpose was purification of heart and cultivating Sambandha Gyan and developing attraction for performing the loving devotional service to the Supreme Lord. And this can be done in disciplic succession by the process of hearing. So that's why, what hearing does is actually it cleanses our heart. Our mentality is right now in the activities of the material world, but by hearing Bhagavad Gita, eventually our mind is fixed on the Lord in these activities. So then the next step is actually the act of hearing itself. And Prabhupada says that the act of hearing has to be done in such a way that we have a rapt attention while hearing the message. Our attention has to be on the message itself. So our mind has to be fixed on the process of hearing. And then if the mind is not disturbed, then our hearing becomes perfect, and it can be facilitated by taking notes while the process of hearing is going on. So one of the things we need to take care is our attention doesn't go here and there. And if the mind is disturbed, it is not pure, then our mind will be, compelled to move here and there, which is normally happening in our day to day life. So one must try to live a purer life, and that way our mind is not agitated, and then we can focus on the hearing. And when we hear, then we should start thinking about what we heard. It's not that the class is over, then okay, you're done for the day, but no, we do meditate upon what we heard. There is thinking and then meditation. So this is a cyclic process, and that helps us to remember the subject matter which we have heard. And then we went through this model where Edgar Dale, he explains that something which we do, we remember that most. But something which we have read, we only retain like 10% after 2 weeks. And something which we have heard is 20%, and what we see is 30%. What we see and hear, 50%. And what we say, 70%. Whereas we say and do, then it is 90%. The retention rate is 90%. So whatever we hear, we should try to apply that in our life gradually. Then the mood of hearing is to be like in the mood of submission, and it should be receiving. Receiving means we are receiving, it's not pursuing. And then when we are hearing, it should be considered as a service, and the message of the Lord should be considered as the incarnation of the Lord, because actually literally the message of the Lord is incarnation. Lord is coming to us in the form of sound. So this should be the mood of learning. And in Bhagavad Gita chapter 13 verse 8 to 12, the process of acquiring knowledge is given. So this we didn't cover last session, but the process of acquiring knowledge means Krishna is explaining Arjuna that what are the qualities that are required by one who wants to gain knowledge. And Krishna gives a list of qualities, beginning with humility, tolerance, patience. So there are many other qualities. You can go through those qualities listed there. But those are the actual qualities which helps us when we have um, those qualities, means our character is very clean, right? Or our consciousness is very clean. So when the consciousness is clean, then the knowledge can be received very easily. Mm. Then Krishna actually reveals. And then we went through this example of how to take notes. Now you see in this picture, or the notes are taken beautifully with different colors. So if somebody can take notes while they are hearing, well, that involves more than one senses, and then that way we can also retain what we have learned. So this is just an example. And then after hearing, then what we do is contemplation. So what is contemplation? It means to look attentively, or so this is the meaning of contemplate: to look at attentively and thoughtfully, meditate upon it, consider deliberately, reflect deeply on a subject. So when we hear, after hearing comes the next step, which is contemplation. Whatever we have heard, we think about it. How to do the contemplation? So Prabhupada, before going to how to do, Prabhupada says that this contemplation should happen in association of, um, or before contemplation happens, we must hear from somebody who is a devotee of Krishna. So Prabhupada in this Canto 3, Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, verse 25, chapter 25, verse 25, he mentions, is a very famous verse, that to understand personal activities of the Lord, one has to seek the association of devotees. And by such association, when one contemplates and tries to understand the transcendental activities of the Lord, the path to liberation is open and he is freed. So the process of hearing is also very important. From whom to hear? You cannot hear from anybody or everybody. You must hear the message from somebody who is coming in parampara, who is coming in disciplic succession. And when we associate with such devotees, and when we contemplate on the subject matter, then the transformation can happen in the heart. So how to contemplate? So there are three ways you can contemplate. One is on individual level, another in association of devotees, and the third is reading or hearing the commentaries or thoughts of the previous acharyas. So contemplating on the individual level is how that has to be done. So this is basically, contemplation is introspection or seeing connection. Whatever we hear, we try to connect with the things with our experiences, and then we can ask questions like how, why, when, where, how, why. These are different what. So there are like different questions we can ask. That whatever we have heard, how is that possible? When did it happen? Who was involved in that? What is the reason for this? Whatever we have heard. So when we ask questions, then more thought processes will be generated in the mind. So this is called as introspection, thinking about whatever you heard. Then further person can think that how this message is applicable in my personal life, and then we can also think that, okay, rephrase this what we have heard in the language more accessible or more connectable. Like a lot of times we hear the classes in English maybe, but because we can translate that in our local language, the understanding becomes more clearer. Like somebody who knows Hindi, then translate whatever is learned in English, and the thought process in the local language, which may be Hindi or whatever, Gujarati or Bengali or whatever language we are more comfortable with. So paraphrasing or rephrasing whatever we have heard, that is also kind of introspection. Another tool is visualization. It's a very powerful tool. So when we hear Krishna Katha or any other Katha, which is related to Krishna. So, for example, in Bhagavad Gita, in the beginning, Dhritarashtra asks a question to Sanjaya, and then there's a discussion between Duryodhana and Dronacharya. So, when we are reading those verses, we can use as a visualization tool that we are present in those in that war field, and we are hearing the conversation between um, Duryodhana and Dronacharya, or Duryodhana and Bhishma, or Arjuna and Krishna. So that's a visualization tool. You can see the expression of the person speaking, and that way also you can meditate. So visualization is a very powerful tool. By that, all the impressions of what we have heard is actually stays in the mind. So we can gradually develop. If we don't have, we can develop this visualization process, and then that hearing becomes very powerful. Then we can do repeated recollections, which is seeing connections, seeing with the past connections, meaning, let's say we are in verse number 10 of chapter 1. So we can connect that what was a discussion in past 9 verses, because right now we are on verse number 10. So that way you see the flow of Bhagavad Gita. Right? So that is repeated recollection, and then that way you understand the subject matter very clearly. So this is the contemplation at the individual level, but there is a caution, because our mind has tendencies, and actually we are trained to speculate. So our mind has a tendency to speculate, but in spiritual life it is not advisable to speculate. We only follow what has been given to us. So there is a boundary within which we can probably speculate. That's called as philosophical speculation, or assumptions. There is a boundary within which we can, it's a safe boundary within which we can speculate. And Prabhupada has actually given that philosophical speculation sometimes is done, right, to understand the subject matter, But we need to know that, because of our tendency, it's better not to speculate. And another thing is, we also think autobiographically. Whatever experience I have in my life, when we hear, we try to see through our experience. But this is a transcendental message, this is not material experience. So we cannot bring down this subject to our level. So we cannot start thinking, oh, this as Krishna did like this, I have also done something like this in the past. So no, it's a complete different thing. So we cannot think autobiographically. So these are certain tendencies of the mind we have to be aware while we are contemplating on our own. And then sometimes, some things are spoken and we perceive that whatever has been spoken based on our previous experience. So that becomes our reality. So our reality is whatever we perceive. Perception is the reality of a person, right? And the things may be completely opposite. So it's better, what we should do is, when we have those kind of doubts, we should always consult devotees. So that's why the second way of contemplation is contemplation in association with the devotees. In association of devotees, when we have some thoughts, we can always discuss with the devotees that, okay, this is how I think about this particular verse, this is what my understanding is, or this is how I understand. What is your thought process on this? So ask each other questions, discuss about what is Krishna's message. The purpose is to clarify or understand it more better. So this is the process of contemplation. So whatever the first step is, we are hearing, and then after hearing we contemplate. And when we contemplate, there are two we have come across two. One is individual contemplation, second is in association of devotees. And then we want to understand more, then we can read the purports or commentaries which are given by different acharyas or previous acharyas. Like, in Bhagavad Gita, when we'll see that Prabhupada has given a commentary. But Prabhupada's commentaries are mainly based on one person, which is Sri Baldev Vidyabhushan. That is where Prabhupada has taken the maximum. He has referred Baldev Vidyabhushan's commentary in his own commentary. But in many places, actually, Prabhupada also refers to Ramanujacharya. He also refers to Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. He also refers to Sridhar Swami. So, Prabhupada is also referring to other acharyas' commentary while giving his own commentary. Because each of the acharyas, they actually focus on certain points, on certain areas. For example, Sri Baldev Vidyabhushan, his point of commentary is based, his focus is on the tattva or the truths, whereas Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentaries are based on the rasa, which is the mellows, the inner emotions, which is going on in Arjuna's heart when he is asking certain question. So he is looking from that point of view. So the commentaries could be completely different. And they may differ also, because they are looking from different. Their focus of the verse is completely different. That's why it is very interesting to read the commentaries from different acharyas. So that way, when we hear from them, on the basis of what we have heard, we can also contemplate. So this is regarding the commentaries given by the previous acharyas. Next is step number 4, which is knowledge to realization. So we have heard, we have contemplated, and now the next step is the knowledge which was gained, which is theory. Now that has to become a realized knowledge. So what are the steps? So in Bhagavad Gita chapter 9 verse 1 and 2, Krishna is saying to Arjuna, this chapter is called as the most confidential knowledge, and that begins with the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, my dear Arjuna, because you are never envious of me, I shall impart you this most confidential knowledge and realization, knowing which you shall be relieved of all the miseries of the material existence. So here point to be noted is, there are 3 points. One is that Krishna is telling Arjuna that I am giving you this knowledge because you are not envious of me. So as I said earlier, that this spiritual knowledge is different from the material knowledge, right? It acts differently. So the qualification required to gain this knowledge is also different. Humility, tolerance, as we discussed earlier, non-enviousness. If somebody is envious of Krishna, then whatever Krishna will be speaking, it will not get into the head of that person. So those qualities which builds the character of a person, those good qualities are required to understand Bhagavad Gita. Then Krishna is saying that I shall impart you the most confidential knowledge. So he will give the knowledge which he is giving in Bhagavad Gita, but he is also saying that I will also give you realization. So the knowledge to realization is a 2-step process. One is Arjuna's endeavor, and then the next is Krishna's giving that realization to him. Of course, Krishna is giving the knowledge, but Arjuna has to first hear it. So that is our endeavor. We hear, we contemplate, and then this knowledge is actually revealed in the heart. In the heart by the Lord himself. Unless the Lord reveals that in the heart, the realization won't happen. It will only remain as a theoretical knowledge. But theory to realization is different. So for example, in the material world, when we want to drive the car on the road, right? So we go to a exam. All of us who are driving knows that we go through a theoretical exam. Now, in that exam, theory exam, we know exactly where to drive. In US, we drive on the right side of the road. In India, it's the left side of the road. Then all those rules, traffic right rules. So there are all the theories which we learn. We can say that we theoretically understand how to drive a car, but that is theory. But when we actually really drive the car, that is actually the realization. We are driving the car on the road with the knowledge of how to drive the car on the road. So that is theory plus the practical knowledge. So that becomes a realized knowledge for the person. Now, this knowledge, Krishna is saying, is the king of education. The most secret of all secret. It is purest of the knowledge, and because it gives direct perception of the self by realization, it is a perfection of religion. So this is the perfect knowledge. This is the highest knowledge. In fact, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita chapter 7 verse 2, he is saying that I am going to explain you the phenomenal and numinous knowledge. Knowing this, there is nothing more to be known. So once we understand Bhagavad Gita completely, then according to Krishna's point of view, there is nothing more to be known. And that is true, because Krishna is the Supreme Lord himself, and he is saying, I am giving you everything, both the theory as well as the realization. So in order to do that, this, as we discussed, there is a two-step process. Realization is a two-step process. One is self-endeavor and second is revelation. So self-endeavor is can be stated as this knowledge is the king of the education, and the most secret of all secret. It is the purest knowledge, and because it gives direct perception of the self by realization. So when we study this book, we will have certain knowledge which will give us direct direct perception of what we have learned by experiencing through our own self. And then the next step is the realization or the revelation of Krishna. So that happens by Krishna's mercy. So first step is our self-endeavor. So in the computer, the most important part is the start button. And if we do not press the start button, the computer won't start, though it has all capacity to do all the work. But if the start button is off, then the computer won't function. So similarly, in spiritual life, we have to press that start button. We have to take initiative to start the computer. Basically start reading about Krishna through the message of Bhagavad Gita. So then we press that start button, then it will start functioning correctly. And that is the functioning can be compared to the revelation which Krishna gives us. And the ways to acquire the knowledge by direct perception, how do we do that? So what is our part to be done? So the ways to acquire that knowledge by self-perception or direct perception is, there are three ways to acquire knowledge. One is Pratyaksha, second is Anuman, third is Shabda. This is given in the Vedas, that these are the way to acquire knowledge. Pratyaksha means direct direct perception, means I am seeing something. For example, I am seeing the sun. So with my eyes, and that is the direct seeing of it. So that is Pratyaksha. Second is Anuman. Anuman means guesswork or logic. And logic is based on that, whatever is our past experience. For example, if I see a smoke, the indication is that there is a fire. So that is the Anuman. Means we are guessing by seeing the smoke that there is a fire. Shabda is the next, which is the highest of all these three. And the Shabda means it is direct knowledge which is coming from the Lord himself. So that is Shabda Praman. So that knowledge is the purest of the pure. It is free from all the four defects. So the four defects are, we have imperfect senses, and because of the imperfect senses we get illusion, and then we commit mistakes. And the fourth one is, though we know all these defects which we have, we still cheat. So we have the cheating tendency. So these are the four defects a human has. But the Shabda is beyond this. So anybody who is beyond this is the Lord Himself. So whatever knowledge is coming from Him, that is called as Shabda Praman. So these are the way to acquire knowledge. One is by seeing, other is by the logic, this is Anuman, and the third one to acquire knowledge is by Shabda Praman, or hearing from the Lord Himself. So to realize something means actually we reconcile the Shabda, what we have heard, with the Pratyaksha which we are seeing, and using the Anuman. How is that? So, for example, if we see a sun, okay? So we see a sun, and normally we see a sun, we don't have knowledge about the sun, so we see a sun as a small disk. So that is our Pratyaksha. But then when we go to school or college and we learn that sun is huge actually, it's like 14,000 times bigger than the earth, some number, larger than the earth. So then we understand the size of the earth is this much. And then we start thinking, oh, that's huge actually. Then we learn that it takes about a certain time, it takes few minutes to come from sun to earth. So when now we have all this understanding after reading this, now when we see the sun, so earlier when we saw the sun, then we saw the sun as a small disk. But now when we are seeing the sun, we are seeing it with knowledge. And now we can guess that, oh, it's looking small. Actually, it is not small, but it is looking small because it is so far. Even the light takes so much time to come to earth. So this is called as reconciling Shabda with Pratyaksha, using Anuman, that is a guess. So when we know this way something, then that becomes our actual realization. That is the process of realization. So in the realization, actually, the thinking or making Anuman is acceptable. Basically manana or vichar, that is allowed. But mental speculation is not allowed. So mental speculation, so that's why we said earlier that mental speculation is something which we are taught, but that is not allowed. So that's why whatever we are doing vichar has to be confirmed with somebody who is expert in that subject matter. And when we understand the subject in this way, then actually we get a realized knowledge. So earlier we taught about that, there are, in 13th chapter, there is a process of knowledge given. So spiritual life actually comes through a disciplic succession. So Prabhupada says that one has to approach a bona fide spiritual master to receive this knowledge. And the satisfaction of the self-realized spiritual master is a secret of advancement in spiritual life. So spiritual life works differently than material life. We gain knowledge in material life by studying something or reading something. Spiritual life doesn't work that way, because here there are pure person, and we are not in a purified consciousness. So first of all, we have to purify our consciousness. That happens gradually, and that happens under the direction of a spiritual master. And when the spiritual master sees our interest, and then he sees our sincerity, then he is satisfied. And when the spiritual master is satisfied, then our progress is guaranteed. So satisfaction of the self-realized spiritual master is the secret of advancement in spiritual life. This is in the purport of 4th chapter, 34th verse. Prabhupada has given that. And This is the key actually. If we want to realize something, then we have to satisfy our spiritual master, the teacher. And then the teacher blesses us. When the teacher blesses the disciple, then Krishna actually does the revelation part. So, inquiries and submission. So, inquiry. So, when we approach a spiritual master, then we are allowed to ask questions. It's not that questions cannot be asked, but there is a process of doing that. That is a submission through the submission. We must show humility. So the question should not be asked to test the spiritual master, but the question should be asked to understand the subject matter. And in this way, when we submit to a spiritual master, then the knowledge is revealed, and gradually the knowledge becomes realization. So with this, there are actually 3 more steps. So with this, we'll stop here and we will continue our discussion in the next session. Thank you so much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol.